This is the first in a series of talks about behavioural economics. Behavioural economics came about in the 1970s and 80s. A couple of guys called Kahneman and Tversky developed this theory to explain the psychology of decision making. And what it is, it's a merging of the fields of economics and psychology to explain the processes of how we make decisions. Their first starting point was that we have two different processes for thinking and for making decisions. And these are called System 1 and System 2. System 1 they refer to as the intuitive system. This system of processing uses heuristics or rules of thumb to make quick, rapid decisions based, you might say, on gut instincts or feel. You could say that System 1 is the more subconscious of the two systems of processing. An example might be when you're asked a simple maths question. 3 times 2 is 6. You know it. It's subconsciously in your mind that you know the answer to that question. Also, System 1 thinking might be applied to actions like driving or walking. When you suddenly realise that you've got to your destination and you don't know and can't really remember how you got there, that will be System 1 taking over and making the decisions for you. System 2 thinking is the more rational, conscious, linear way of processing information to make decisions. If we're asked, for example, a more complex maths question, say 7 times 13, we might have to think and we have to calculate it, and that's a conscious process. 7 times 13, what is that? Okay, it's 7 times 10 and it's 7 times 3 and add them together and it's 91. But that wasn't instinctive, that wasn't intuitive. We had to calculate it. Now, economics, the vast majority of economic models to date have been based on the fact that we are rational human beings. In other words, that we weigh up the costs and benefits of various options available to us and make the decisions based on which is the better decision to make. Now, the problem with that is that the evidence shows in the real world we don't do that. We don't make all of our decisions by weighing up the pros and cons of various options. What we do is we use biases, or what are called cognitive biases or heuristics, to be able to make quick, rapid decisions. So one of the reasons that these cognitive biases exist, these tricks that we use, is, or may well be, from an evolutionary perspective. For example, for many hundreds of thousands of years, we had very scarce resources. We couldn't just go out and get whatever we wanted. Now, as a result of that, we tend to value property that we have, once we've got it, far higher than something that we don't have. So it's possible that evolutionary psychology is at play here. And this is why you could argue that a lot of these biases are hardwired into us. The other reason that we use cognitive biases and rules of thumb is that we're fundamentally lazy. We have a very limited amount of brain power, in essence, and processing power. And again, traditionally, or historically, we would have wanted to protect that and save that. Because we couldn't consume as much food necessarily as we need, as much food as our brain needs, we would have to be able to make decisions quickly. We wouldn't be able to sit and work everything out because it takes a lot of energy to do that. So, as a result of that, we've created, probably over many hundreds of thousands of years, rapid decision making. The other reason that we make quick decisions, intuitive decisions, is cognitive load. And I believe that cognitive load is getting worse. Cognitive load is literally how much can we hold in our mind at any one time and what's affecting us. So even back in the 50s, there were experiments done whereby how much information can we hold in our conscious mind at any one time. And the answer was approximately 7 bits of information. That could be 7 single numbers, or it might be 7 units of information. So it could be 7 series of numbers, or it might be 7 pieces of other forms of information. But plus or minus 2, some people can only maintain 5, some people can maintain 9, we can only hold 7 bits of information in our mind at any one time. So if we have more than that, which typically we do, particularly in today's world, because we're bludgeoned with information from absolutely everywhere, it's making the rational decision making that much harder. And because of that, we are more likely to rely on our intuitive system 1 thinking to make irrational decisions. Now, irrational sounds bad, and it isn't always bad. Often it's the case that taking the option that looks the best, by briefly looking at it, can often be the best form of decision making. However, there are a lot of biases that we use that whereby we make the wrong decisions. And a lot of companies and governments use these biases because they're aware of them to change and modify our behaviour so that we act in the way that they want us to. And in the next talk, we're going to be talking about nudge theory and how we're going to start talking about how companies and governments use nudge theory to literally nudge our behaviour towards what they want.